It's really starts with not delivering, and specifically as it pertains to like big variances in my forecast, having to go back and talk to the CFO and answer questions as to why our cash isn't where I said it was going to be. We kind of talked about it in the beginning. It really kind of it depends on the information that I'm relying on a lot of people within a lot of department heads, and we're having meetings. And I'm saying, hey, give me your best number. Where do you think? And I'm even little in my back pocket just in case that number doesn't come in where it's supposed to be.
Before we start, I want to highlight the biggest challenge I've noticed in the Treasury industry. It's professionals finding it tough to build an impactful brand. That's exactly why I put together an ebook, Building and Managing an Impactful Professional Brand. It has helped over 100 professionals define their unique values and stand out in their careers. In this ebook, you'll find practical tips to build a strong network and sharpen the skills you need to succeed in this industry. And the best part? It's completely free. Grab your copy now by clicking the link in the description below. Your host for the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast. Today, I'm honored and humbled to have Jermal McDaniel. He's a treasurer at CAPA Education Abroad. Been a long time connection of mine. Thrilled to have him. Before we dive in, why don't you give us a little bit about your background in Treasury?
Absolutely, Henry. First, let me start off by saying the pleasure's all mine. You're one of my heroes in the Treasury space, so it's good to be on with you. Regarding my background, I mean, the majority of my career has been spent on the mortgage side. So, as a mortgage treasurer here lately, the last couple of companies that I've been at, they've been outside of mortgage. So, it actually gave me a good opportunity to get into the FX space. They're international companies, so there's a lot of FX hedging risk and that kind of thing that I really didn't have much experience with, on the mortgage side, being that everything was domestic. So, growing as a treasurer and continue to put one in front of the other. That's kind of how I continue to do things.
All right. Hey, I bet your life's become exciting over the past like 4 or 5 months with all the tariffs and all that good stuff. So I'm sure it's interesting. So we're happy to give you a break from that. We're going to have a little fun. So if you haven't had a chance to join us yet, the format is just like you remember, truth or dare. So what we're going to do is we're going to have several rounds of truth or dare. I'll ask my guests, would you like to have a truth or dare? And then we'll go through probably 4 rounds or so, and then I'll let my guests have fun and give me a dare. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Would you like to start off with a truth or a dare?
I always like to start off with the truth, Ernie.
All right. There you go. All right. In which areas of Treasury are you most passionate? And that may have changed, right? Since you've had some changes lately.
Absolutely. So, the majority of the positions that I've had, cash management and forecasting has been, the cornerstone of what I've had to do. So, over the years, I've learned to get better with cash forecasting. And I always say that it's more of an art than a science. So, and we're only as good as the information that we get. So I'm getting better at it, but I'm by no means a cash forecasting expert. Or if anybody tells you that, I might have to second guess that person. So, that's one of the things that I really am passionate about. Another thing was managing warehouse lines. So on the mortgage side, we used warehouse lines to finance loans. And then I worked a lot with the capital markets group to not only those loans funded, but to also get those sold as well. So there was a lot of working not only with the warehouse lines and well times with those loans on the warehouse lines and margin calls and that sort of nature, but really trying to get those loans pushed through the process and get them out the door because that's how we made our money as mortgage companies. And finally, it's the FX and hedging. That's the new
Right.
thing that I've really,
Yeah.
the new toy that I've had an opportunity in these last couple stops in my career to get acclimated with. I enjoy it. FX, it really kind of makes sense to me, right? On a day over day basis, you see how it moves, and then
Yep.
the hedging and the risk associated with, trying to protect your upside and your downside on the currency is really intriguing to me. I've actually got a chance to speak to a lot of people who really understand it, and it's shortened my learning curve, but it's still a work in progress.
Oh, that's great. Your passions. So we always say on the podcast, Treasury is a relationship business, and you've had that experience throughout your career. And also, what I always preach a little bit more about is the counterparty risk side. So your experience in working with those lines and understanding the financial health and counterparty risks. That's fascinating as well. So love to hear that.
Absolutely.
Let's go to round two. You want to go ahead and go with another truth, or are we gonna go for a dare?
Let's go for a dare. I'm feeling daring, so to speak.
What is the least favorite part of your professional life?
I mean, that's a good question, and now you're asking me to pull the curtain back a little bit. It's really it starts with not delivering, and specifically as it pertains to like big variances in my forecast, having to
Right.
go back and talk to the CFO and answer questions as to why our cash isn't where I said it was going to be. We kind of talked about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
It really kind of it depends on the information. I'm relying on a lot of people within a lot of department heads, and we're having meetings, and I'm saying, hey, give me your best number. Where do you think? I'm even leaving a little in my back pocket just in case that number doesn't come in where it's
Sure.
supposed to be. And then there's those anomalies where things hit that nobody was aware of, which really skews the cash forecast. And then having to go back and explain those things, and I'm not an excuse person,
Yeah.
so it's really on me to make sure that I have the information. And you talked about it earlier, building
Yep.
relationships, and having those check-in meetings, those tickle calls, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you guys see anything, I can't get blindsided. So please, to the extent that you
Yep.
can, get me the information that you have so I can true up the forecast and at least alert, sound the alarms early before we get to the point where, earnings call, or, people are reporting these numbers to the street, and then we have a big problem. So, not delivering is a big thing. And then really tarnishing the reputation of the Treasury Department. I worked for a treasurer a long time ago, and she told me, whatever happens, it can't be our fault. And that's stuck with me since I've been in my mid 20s, right? Like, we got to get in front of these things, and we have to make sure as the treasury group that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, because a lot of people are relying on this information. So we have to be accurate.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. And one of the things that speaks to your character is accountability. So I've had that experience as well. Sometimes I was actually chastised for stepping in front of the bullet too often. And I was like, hey, that's just the way that I'm wired. It doesn't matter what happened, I'll take it. And then obviously, when you do that, you build those relationships that matter. So I love it. So thanks for sharing. Go back to another truth, or are we going to go for two back to back dares?
Let's go for a truth again.
All right.
That dare was a little. I had to bare my soul a
There
little
you
bit. Let's
go.
go back
Oh,
on the
we can
truth
we can
side.
go a little deeper than that. All right. How has investing in networking within your department, company, and with your peers, how has that impacted your career?
That's a good question. It kind of dovetails into what I was talking about
Yeah.
before, right? What I try to tell people is really, within a corporate space and treasury specifically, it's a relationship business more than it's even an X's and O's and an interest rate division multiplication type business, right? Because, as the treasurer, and I tell a lot of people, we're like the United Nations of the company. Like, we have to bring everybody together, and, we're the keeper of the resources, which are finite. Everybody wants a piece of what, we have to make everyone happy, but also have to keep the company solvent. So building those relationships outside of the finance group with the sales team, with the procurement team, with, either accounting, finance, everybody within the organization, because treasury touches every aspect of the enterprise, we have to make sure that we are building strong relationships across the board. So, once coming back into the forecast, because I have to get information from everybody within the firm. And, if I don't have a strong relationship with someone and I'm continually getting bad information, then that's on me. I have to fix that, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to have to answer to those numbers. So, what I've learned in my career within Treasury is, building those relationships
Mm.
outside of the Treasury and Finance department. And then
Cool.
even within accounting, because accounting and Treasury work we work hand in hand with one another, or the cap markets group too. So making sure that we're all on the same
Right.
page goes a long way towards, us having the accuracy and the timeliness of the information that we've got to push up the chain and be
Yeah.
responsible for.
I love two things. One popped in my head. So one was you value your customers. So you see people as internal customers. So you have accountability to them. But also, I was just thinking about it. I used to do the global forecast and do insurance, and I just light bulb popped on. Oh, I guess we're internal customers as well. And the better our brand
Absolutely.
is, the better service, right, that we're going to get as a customer. So I love that. Just another dimension of the value of investing in those relationships. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, I'm going to
You bet.
flip the table here a little bit, give you a break for a minute or two. So I'm going to let you give me a dare.
Okay, absolutely. I guess the dare would be, what in your what are the things that you dislike? Basically, Ernie, I know you talk to a lot of people. You're a professional from a long time, so I'm sure you've seen the highs and the lows. So what are some of the things that you dislike with what you've seen in your career?
For me, just in my career, few things. I don't like finger pointing. So I don't like seeing it. I don't like doing it. Lost jobs because someone has done it and I have gotten upset.
about that, so I don't like finger pointing, one thing. The other thing is, I don't like I'm trying to think the way to phrase this politically correctly. I just don't like people that don't follow through. They say they're gonna do something and they don't follow through on it. It's nothing of that. I don't like people that have a business switch. Okay, you have to let this guy go. And then you can't tell them, "You can't do this, you can't do that." And I'm like, I'm a human being 24/7 so anytime someone tries to make me not act like a human being 24/7, and I've been in positions where I have let my job dictate, turn off my personality and who I am as a person. So I think, those
Sure.
are things that you get cognizant of when you're older is, if this is changing me, it's changing who I am and what I feel. And I still hear it out too often. When you go to work every Monday and you're sick Sunday night, I mean, that's just the worst feeling, and so I try and not do that, but also recognize what's going on with others as well, so they don't have that going on as well. Okay, so thank you for
Absolutely.
that. We're gonna get back to you, my friend. Are we gonna go for a truth or a dare?
Let's go for a dare.
All right, this is a dare I give every so often. I like this one. The perspectives are different. If you were stranded on a desert island with someone at your company, who would it be and why?
That's an easy one. I'm going with the CFO, and I'll tell you why. He's my kind of guy. He's the smartest guy in the room, but he's self-deprecating enough to let us kind of work autonomously, and he's there as the SME when we need guidance. So he lets us do our thing, and then if we need some guidance, he's got an open door policy, and he's like, hey, come on in and let's figure things out. He's also a real cool character, and he's great at relationship building, and we kind of talked about that from
Yeah,
before. And he's very approachable, always has an open door policy. He won't throw us under the bus. If we mess up, he'll protect us. He'll take the bows and arrows, and then we'll come back into his office and we'll talk about what happened and come up with a plan on how to make things better. He doesn't even raise his voice, which is a change for me. All the CFOs that I've worked
yeah.
for in the past have lost their cool more often than not. He doesn't do that. So I think he's the kind of guy that, if we're stranded on an island, I'm gonna get to learn a lot. And then he's smart enough to figure out, how to get us off the island. So I think that's a win-win for me.
Love that answer. When you were talking, I was just thinking about how I had a boss, still my favorite boss, and he actually was a bit of a yeller. When someone tried to come at us for anything, he would protect us like no tomorrow. He'd be like, "Get out of here! Don't talk to my person. I'll take care of it." So he was really
Absolutely.
good about that. So I love to see and learn about leaders value their folks. I just commented on a thing. Says all employees are replaceable, and I think they're replaceable on all levels. So people that treat you like a human and value you more than just from your position, I love that, and that's what every leader should do, in my opinion. So we're gonna go back with a truth, or what are you thinking?
Let's go with the truth.
All right, this is a tough question. I like to ask this question because I'm trying to figure this out. So do you have any ideas or have you seen things? Maybe it was in the past. What can we do to better support those that are newer to the profession or that we'd like to get into our profession? What are some of the things that you can do to help with our brand with the younger generation?
That's a good question that I've often thought about a lot. First thing that kind of popped into my head was putting together a treasury curriculum that can be taught at the university level. When I talk to a lot of people and we're, trying to get people on my team or just treasurers in general, and I think I heard you mention this in the past on a webinar or something, is we kind of just end up in treasury. I've never met anyone that said, "Hey, I'm going to be a treasurer when I grow up." We
Right,
just kind of we have that skill set. I think we're part crazy because we love deadlines, and we're accurate
right,
and we're timely. We've gotta be like that. My thought was taking kind of like the CTP prep information. That's got a lot of good treasury information in it first, and then talking to, treasury professionals and constituents that I've met in the past, you and some of the
Right.
other mentors that I have within treasury, and putting together like case study type of things that we can roll into the curriculum. So we
Yep.
give them the baseline, the basics of what you need for treasury, the banking, the blocking and tackling, and then we really test them with scenario driven type things where you're writing out your response, where you're really having to think about it. And then all we have to do is just draw from our experience. I know
Right.
we've all been in a number of untenable situations where we've had to kind of solve it on our own and get things done before the Fed closes. So there's numerous examples that I think that I can draw from myself and some of the other people who have sat in the chair. So And packaging that up and making that, putting that within a finance curriculum, within on a college campus where we can really say, hey, you can be an accountant, you can do economics, you can be in finance, but there's this whole other space. It's called treasury that really no one kind of understands unless they've been in banking or once they get into the corporate treasury role where they can be prepared and hit the ground running had they had some of this background before they got out of school. So I think that would go a long way towards really jazzing up the profession, so to speak. And, and as we know, it's a great profession. Just, you just happen to be in it. And it'd be great to be able to market it better to, future treasurers.
I'd say that's been a while. There used to be college campuses that at least had kind of the CTP training in their curriculum, but I've toying with the idea again of getting folks and just like, everyone is an alumni from somewhere. Maybe getting like 10 people to say, okay, let's see if we can get a course or an executive education program going at our university. So from you, it'd be like, I'm at Purdue. Can we get at Purdue? Then we can go to the Big Ten. But I'm glad to hear that there's folks like yourself who have the mindset. So stay tuned, everyone, for that, because that's something that I've always wanted to do. Okay, let's go with one more round here. Why don't you gonna
All right.
finish it? Why don't you why don't you let me choose? I'd like to finish you up with the truth here because I'm really interested
Okay.
to hear what you think
Absolutely.
on this. So, all right, I'm giving you three wishes to grant on behalf of the Treasury profession. What are they?
That's a good question. I mean, that's actually a funny question, because I think all the time, if I could be creator of Treasury, what are some things that I would love to have? And, one of them is let's start with the easiest, the low hanging fruit as as someone putting together cash forecasts, accurate and timely information from the department heads that I can rely upon day over day. Like, let's start with that, right? If I could get that on a daily basis, I could sleep a lot better at night knowing that, my forecast is halfway done just having that information.
Right.
So that'd be the first thing that, if I had a wish, that would be one of my wishes, my first wish. Second wish would be like a 24-hour universal payment system that transfers funds instantaneously, right? I hit a button, FX if it's USD. I know that once I hit that button, we can book what I sent and, I can tell everybody, hey, money will be there shortly and we keep moving. That would be great if that could happen. And I've heard that there's some talk about extending the payment system and domestically and
Yeah.
internationally, but I think we need to get there quickly. That's my hope. And then the third thing would be seamless, domestic and international KYC processes. I'm going through an international KYC right now, and I can think of like 100 things I'd rather be doing that KYC, and it's really just the back and forth and,
Mhm.
sending the information to the in-country team, and then there's a language barrier, and then there's time zones with getting information back and forth, and then I've got deadlines that I have to hit that I have to keep pushing back because there's issues with the information that is being sent, or there's a breakdown, or there's communication issues, things being lost in translation, and it's just really a nightmare. Just getting through a KYC in general. Anybody who's done that can probably attest to what I'm saying. So, if there was a better way to do it, I figured we can get a man to the moon. Can we get a better KYC process?
We'll talk afterwards. I am working with a partner who is working on automation and AI and international KYC. So I may be able to grant you a wish. So wouldn't that be an
There
awesome
you go.
follow up? So thank you once again for taking the time to join us today and for your contributions to the profession. And we will certainly look to have you on and be more involved as I continue to develop content to support the Treasury profession. To all of my listeners, have the courage to live your treasury truths and dare to be great in everything that you do within and beyond Treasury. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for watching the show. I hope you guys liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and hit the subscribe button for more.